Okay, so in this video we're going to look at a couple of inequalities, and also as we solve the inequalities we're also going to be looking and reviewing interval notation. So here we have the inequality 2x minus 8 parentheses x plus 6 is greater than or equal to 12. So just like with an equation, typical inequality, we first begin by getting the inequality simplified, and then try to get the variable on one side and get it by itself. So here we have 2x minus 8 parentheses x plus 6, so we have to multiply through by the 8. And so we go ahead and we do that. 8 times x would be 8x minus 8x. And then 8 times 6 would make that minus 48. And we're again greater than or equal to 12. So at this point, we want to simplify. We do have some like terms. So we go ahead and put those together. Minus 6x. And what I'm going to go ahead and do here is, since I've combined my variables here, I have this oddball guy doesn't have a variable. So I'm going to slide him over to the other side. Since it's minus 48, I can add that here and add it with the 12. And I'll have 6x greater than or equal to 60. And now I'm ready to finally get the variable by itself. So we divide by negative 6. Remember, though, this is that one time where you have to be careful with inequalities. Since I divide it by negative 6 on both sides of the inequality, right, that's going to flip the direction of the inequality. So the inequality was originally greater than or equal to, but because I divide by a negative, it flips the direction. So we get x less than or equal to negative 10. So here we've solved the inequality. What remains for us now is we have to get that answer in interval notation. So x is less than or equal to negative 10. So the simplest way to do that, to go to interval notation. If you're not quite comfortable with it, then my advice would be to draw the number line picture for this inequality. So we would plot it down like this. X less than or equal to negative 10 would mean we're to the left of negative 10. The or equal to means we're including negative 10, so we put a solid circle, and then we shade to the left. So that would be the number line picture. And then we want to translate that to interval notation. Well, since it's going down forever, we can say that's negative infinity. And then remember, interval notation, we need the left-hand endpoint, negative infinity to negative 10. And then infinity never gets a bracket, so it's always parenthesis on that. And because we are including the negative 10, we put in the bracket there. And so we have the interval from negative infinity to negative 10 would be the solution. Okay, let's move on and look at a second example here. This is an inequality that involves an absolute value. 2x plus 7 less than 12. So remember, with an absolute value equation, we would drop the absolute value and we would solve the two equations. 1 equals positive 12 if it was equal to 12 here, and 1 equals negative 12. With inequalities, if it's less than, then we translate it to say that this amount has to be smaller than 12. The absolute value of this amount has to be smaller than 12. That means that this stuff is stuck between negative 12 and positive 12. If it was a greater than, then you'd be outside of this. This would have to be below negative 12 or above 12. Okay, so just remember the differences for less than and greater than. So this gives us what we sometimes refer to as a compound inequality, where it's stuck between two boundaries. The way to solve this, remember, is to get the variable in the middle by itself. So that means I need to get rid of the 7. Okay, so we begin by subtracting that 7, and we subtract it from all 3 parts of the inequality. And so we get the inequality now, negative 19 less than 2x less than 5. And then we want to solve for x, so we get rid of the 2 in the middle. So we divide everything by 2. Get negative 19 halves is less than x, which is less than 5 halves. And then we finish it off by writing the answer in interval notation. This compound one's a little easier because you have your left and right in front of you here. So we would just write it down as the interval from negative 19 halves to 5 halves. And we're using parentheses on both sides because neither one of those endpoints is included.